this is Yana Smakula for SimonsStamp.com. Welcome back for another Yippee For Yana video. Today I'm using a stamp set from Simon's August card kit, the beautiful Mandy's Flowers set. I thought it would be a good idea to create a simple pencil-colored card using one of the images from this set. So that's what we're going to do in this video. Here's a look at this gorgeous stamp set. This is a large 6x8 set with stunning florals and floral arrangements. I'm going to use just one circle image in the top right-hand side corner for this video, but I'm definitely looking forward to coloring the rest of the images here using my Copics or watercolors. Since I will be coloring this image with colored pencils, I thought it would be a good idea to do my coloring on non-white paper. When it comes to white paper, I prefer to use Copic markers or other alcohol markers, and I try to stay away from colored pencils as I personally think that colored pencils shine best on colored cardstock where you can't really use your Copics. I'm stamping this image onto Simon's Smoke Gray cardstock, and I'm stamping this in Simon's Fog ink. I thought about using smoke ink at first, but it would have been too dark. I'm going to be doing no line coloring today, so I need to pick the color of ink for my stamping that would not show too much on the finished piece, or better yet, not show at all. Hence the choice for this particular ink today. I have shared several videos in the past using colored pencils, so be sure to watch them if you'd like to learn more. The pencils that I'm using today and have been using for the past several months or maybe even a year are Polychromos colored pencils from Faber-Castell. You can also use Prismacolor pencils or other colored pencils that you have in your stash and that you like to color with. I love my Polychromos, so I'm using those. I'm starting to color this image by coloring leaves, and I'm using my favorite greens here. I'll have all of the colors that I used today listed in the blog post associated with this video, so that's where you can look for the exact colors if you want to know specifically what pencil numbers and colors I used. I'm using 3 shades here, and in a way, I like to compare pencil coloring to Copic coloring. I learned most of what I know about coloring by using Copic markers, so I'm now trying to apply that knowledge to my colored pencils. I don't know if that's the right thing to do, but it works for me, so I'm going with it. So I have 3 shades, a dark, medium, and light, and I'm also using white pencil to add highlights. White is a must-have in my stash, and I used white pencil more than I use any other color because I always highlight with white, I often blend with white, and I sometimes use my white pencil as a base for further coloring if I want to lighten the colors. When I color with pencils, I use the pencils themselves to blend the colors. I burnish with my pencils. I start with a light hand, and as I get to the final layer of the color, I apply heavy pressure to burnish my coloring. The burnishing action smoothes out the tooth of the paper and it prevents it from accepting more pigment or more color on top. So that is why you don't want to use heavy hand right away when you just begin your coloring, or you will flatten all of the tooth of the paper and you will not be able to apply more color. I also try to color in little circular motions. I'm going to slow down a part of the coloring so you can see that circular motion in action. So little circles, little tiny circles. You apply one color in tiny circles. Next, you add your second color in those tiny circular motions, and so on. Pencil coloring is way more time-consuming than Copic marker coloring. When I color with pencils, it takes me probably 4 to maybe even 6 times longer if I were to color with my Copic markers. I'm not rushing here or anything. I'm only saying how long it takes so that you don't feel odd when it takes you a ton of time to color, or so that you don't feel unhappy with your coloring if you've only spent a little amount of time on it. Pencil coloring takes a lot of layers to look good, and adding all those layers takes time. Okay, once my flower was colored, I felt like I wanted to add another flower to this circle frame. I cut one of my practice sheets to help me visualize and really see if I needed that other flower here or not. I decided that I did need it, so I used my masking paper with a bit of manipulations and I created something like a negative mask. I masked off the sections of the stamp that I didn't want to stamp and only cut out the opening for the parts of the stamp that I did want to stamp on my image. It really is not as complicated as it sounds, it just takes a little bit of planning. Had I known I wanted to add another flower to this image at the beginning of this video, I would have also masked a portion of that circle frame when I was stamping the original image, but that was an afterthought, so I just had to go with it. I placed my mask, the mask of the image that I did want to stamp, so I placed it where I wanted to stamp it. Next, I added my negative mask pieces around it, and I removed the positive mask and stamped my image. So I'm stamping just that one flower and a few of the leaves. This did overlap the stamped lines from the circle frame, but I knew that I would be able to color over them and cover them for the most part with my pencils. Once my coloring was done, I stamped the sentiment. I went with "Thank you for your love" here, and I used smoke ink. At first, I stamped it in fog, but that wasn't dark enough for my liking, so I stamped it again in smoke. I also added a few more stamped images, a little heart, a little branch, and a few clusters of tiny dots. To color the circle frame, I used my white pencil along with a light and a dark gray to create shadows from the florals. I also hand drew a few additional branches here and there to fill this image in. I could have stamped those, but I didn't want the top flower to look exactly like the bottom one. Plus, they were super easy to draw. I stamped "For Your Love" sentiment and smoke ink onto white paper. I cut it into a little strip and I foam mounted it onto the card using thin foam adhesive, so it's not two-dimensional. I also added a few little enamel hearts that came in my August kit, and I adhered this panel onto an A2 white card base. I did trim this panel just a little bit to have some of the white from the card base show on the sides. Thanks for watching, and I hope you will give this idea a try. If you do make a card inspired by this video, we'd love it if you could share your project and tag us on social media. We always enjoy seeing what you make. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up and to subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet done so. Thanks so much for joining me today. I will see you next time. Bye!